It's a jungle out there, baby, and I'm the biggest cat in town.
John Katz-Lamidis here with Michelle Johnson,
Hey.
the First Lady of Jazz, Las Vegas First Lady of Jazz. It goes this way. Las Vegas's First Lady of Jazz. Right?
That's right.
Right on. I'll go with it. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good to have you on Podkats. It's good to have you
you.
around anyway. We've known each other for quite a while, haven't
Yes,
we?
we have.
You and I.
We have.
Since you were the Second Lady of Jazz.
Yeah, I got promoted somehow.
You got promoted, yeah. You got kicked upstairs. Let's just talk about what's in front of us and the reason
Okay.
you're here. It's the show at the Smith Center on February 23rd. Sankofa.
Yes.
Yes, a celebration concert of African American music and history.
That's right.
Sounds like a lot for that little room. What's going on?
Well, February is Black History Month, but I think we should be celebrating our culture all year long.
And you do. Mhm.
And I try
Yes,
to
you
with
do.
different things that I do. But because it is February, I wanted to do something specific. And, I've been in that room many times
Yeah.
and done a lot of different themes, but I've never done something like this. So this is a different approach where I'm taking a theme that has more of a cultural and a historical elements, not just, the music of so-and-so.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a little wider in expanse and genre. It's also it's going to be multi-genre instead of being super focused.
Right.
But what ties it together is the music is sort of the fabric of the contributions of African Americans through history. So it's a little bit of a history story, but it's all told through music. There's not a lot of talking. There's a little bit of spoken word, which is going to be super cool, a little bit of dance, and an amazing cast.
Okay, let's talk about what might be on the set list, for example. When I hear history, I don't know how far back to go. Are we talking about
we're
contemporary
going-
music history in
We're
America?
No,
or
we're talking
all the way back?
from the ships to
Okay.
the hips. Okay, so we're talking from. I should have put
When
that
you
in my
say
promo.
that's-
I'm talking
the
ships,
ships
like
that-
I mean,
have a
it's
feeling
not
it'll
a
be
fun
in print before
yeah,
the show.
yeah. It's not a super fun topic, but let's face it. How did we get here?
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna do some Negro spirituals, some African music. We are going to do music all the way from the music that was brought over from Africa
Mm-hmm.
and the Caribbean to music of today. So it's a journey. We're going to try to do as much as we can without making it too long. And that
Right.
means doing snippets of some things and some full songs, but it's going to be a beautiful concert that pays tribute to our history.
And who do you have joining you for this
Well,
adventure?
I have my list so that I don't get in trouble. I don't
the
want to
list.
forget anybody.
I have it too. So
Okay, so
it's an all-star cast. So
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, I want to start by saying these are all my friends too,
Yes.
as always. They're my colleagues and my friends. But these are people that I thought would be perfect for this particular show because of the varied talents that they have. And we have Sky D. Miles, one of my best friends, who people know for her ballsy, alls out, amazing, powerful renditions of so many different types of music.
The Boom Boom Room.
From the Boom Boom Room to where she plays now. I mean, she's over at Rose Rabbit Lie, killing it.
for like 6 years for Sky over there.
She's holding it down. And what I love about her is she never phones it in. I mean, she's
No.
there every night and doesn't phone it in. She's so awesome.
Yeah.
So she's going to be in it, Sky D. Miles. We also have someone who just joined the cast. This is my friend Skip Martin. Do you know Skip?
I'm trying to place if I know Skip. I have to have met Skip somewhere.
Probably.
I've seen him sing,
Skip
yeah.
is the former lead singer of Kool and the Gang. They have a few hits, and he also still sings with the Daz Band. And he's a great musician.
I sat with Skip at Andy Walmsley's
I knew
wedding.
you'd know him.
He was at the same table. That's how I met him.
Right,
I
he's
have
great.
not seen him
He's
sing,
also
though.
a great trumpet player and just a phenomenal musician. So
Okay.
he's going to be doing all kinds of things, and he's terrific. Plays everything from jazz to R&B. And we have my friend Fletch, who you know, Fletch Walcott,
Yep.
right?
With the Perico
American
Band.
Idol finalist and sings with Dave Perico and his different bands that he has, and he's terrific. High energy. I love Fletch.
Yeah.
So he's going to be
great.
in it. You know Tasha Camo, right?
Yep.
Tasha
Yep.
Camo, great jazz singer, known all over Vegas. another friend. And Tasha won the Sarah Vaughan International Jazz Vocal Competition at third. I think she was third place.
Right.
But if you hear her, she should have been first.
She does dates at the dispensary quite often.
She
I
does.
think she's been at Italian American Club.
Yes,
Around,
yes.
Maybe in Smith Center, too.
I think
Beverly
so.
Hills.
Yeah, she's done some stuff with Uli Geisendorfer,
Yep.
who's the
That's
musical
it.
director over at the dispensary.
Great
And
jazz
she's
format over
all
there.
over the place. But her voice is just silk and gorgeous and very multifaceted. So I have her doing some things. And then I have my girl Timara Walker, who is right now at Mayfair. She's the late night show over at Mayfair. Have you been there yet?
Yes, twice.
Have you seen her at night,
Yeah.
late night?
She's terrific.
It's insane.
Yeah. The Mayfair itself is a must.
I haven't been yet.
I think you would like the Sunday night more than the during
Why?
the week or early weekend because it is a jazz show.
Okay.
And it's less. It's the other shows that they do on the weekend are bigger and they're more
It's
in your
more
face. And
production,
They're
right?
more production, and it's great for a tourist who's coming to Las Vegas for like that 3-night
right,
stay, and
to
you
see
want
the
to get everything.
dancers and the ceiling.
For locals, I'd introduce myself to it first with a jazz show because it's
Okay.
a lot more kind of culinary friendly, let's say. It's a little
Okay.
bit more sedate, but it's a beautifully appointed
Right.
room, and the format is great.
Right, but
the music's great, and the
but
singing's
there's
great.
nothing sedate about Timara Walker.
No,
even
no.
though she can kill it with a beautiful ballad and then turn around and go to the rafters, the gospel.
Right.
She can do anything, and I just love her. She did that. Did you ever see her video of "Oh Holy Night"? Do you remember the singer who was singing "Oh Holy Night" in the Metro in D.C. and it went viral?
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah,
Timara.
That's Timara. Okay,
That's Timara. So
okay.
people
Now
aren't
I'm
ready.
putting it all together.
But they'll be okay. And so I've got her. I'm just proud. And I have Ivana Christie, who's a great R&B singer here in town. Sings with everybody and does her own tributes to Aretha Franklin. And I mean, it's just powerhouses. Powerhouses.
I don't know
how
how.
I do it.
Yeah, this is going to be and it's only a one-time show, right? This is going to
Yeah,
be
you
one
know
and
how
done.
I am.
Yeah, so
Especially something like this. I'm exhausted.
what's the biggest challenge for you? I mean, you're going to be performing
I'll be
in
totally
it. so-
straight with you. The biggest challenge for me is curating the music because you don't want people to be bored and you don't want it to be too long, especially,
Mm-hmm.
in this town. If you go past like an hour and 45, it starts to get just too long.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an afternoon show, so that part's
What time is
cool.
it?
It's at 3:00 on a Sunday.
Okay.
And I do that so that my friends can come because they're
Mm-hmm.
all working at night. And also just because I think it's a sweet spot in the day, especially after football season,
Mm-hmm.
where you can catch people who may not want to drive late, an older crowd or crowd that works on Mondays.
Right.
So that's why I picked 3:00 on Sundays. It's working for me.
It's good that it's after the NFL season.
yeah,
probably for both of us.
I would not have done it. I would have skipped my own show and be watching.
I felt bad. I saw Michael Grimm in there during the I
During
think
football?
It was the NFC Championship game. I think was that the day he was in there on a Sunday, and I was
He probably still
following
sold
the
out
49ers.
'cause it's Michael
Oh,
Grimm.
he did,
Doesn't
but I had
matter.
my face on my phone half the time.
I know,
following
you're like
the Niner
checking the
game.
score.
He understood. I think he kept looking
He was
at me
probably
like,
checking the
are you
score.
up or down?
But in answer to your question about what the biggest challenge is,
Mm-hmm.
it's making sure I have the right music. I mean, and making sure there's no way you can get everybody and every genre and every great artist in there. So you just have to do what moves you
Yeah.
and also what fits the voices. That's how I make it happen.
Your shows that you've done at the Smith Center, including especially this one, are very personal to you.
Always.
They're artists who've touched you personally. It's a format. It's in some cases very autobiographical.
Sometimes.
You've told your story on stage and in a setting that looks like your home in
Yes,
some instances.
sometimes.
Why? What motivates you to be so personal when you certainly get away with just having a show where you just sing and sing and
I
sing more
could.
songs?
I could, but I feel like what is the point of yet another singer coming out there and doing covers and then going home and taking the money and the applause and nobody knows who you are? I just don't. I've never rolled that way. I mean, I've done plays and things like that with a script, and that's one thing. But if I'm going to stand up there, I want to be vulnerable enough to connect with people. And that's my brand, is that I like to connect with people. And I've noticed that whenever I do that, the show feels better, people feel relaxed, and they don't see you as plastic, because I think too many entertainers have like one persona on stage and off stage. And I think, I really believe this just in general, entertainment is becoming slowly more authentic, where people are turned off by the person who isn't a little bit more real. And I've always been that way, but now I just think it's more acceptable. And I come from a theater, Broadway, cabaret type background anyway.
Yeah, well, I know the shows that I've
So-
seen you in at Cabaret Jazz. Carole King.
Yeah,
as a
that's
tribute.
the more autobiographical
That's
one.
an autobiographical, and with great songs.
Thank
you know, I mean,
They're
and
hers.
delivered great.
They're hers.
Yeah, but you can make them yours when you tell
You
your
can
story through
when
the,
you have someone like Jeff Nyman arranging them, and then you weave your story. And you could do it with this, but I will tell you, this isn't going to be as much about my life as it is the influences that have affected all of us, really.
Culturally.
And also, I mean, my father is Liberian, so I'm literally African American. So if I bring anything to it, it will be that part of my history and why this whole month and this theme in general resonates with me, because I have a connection to Africa in maybe a different way from some people. And
Yeah.
I'm proud of it. I'm proud of my heritage.
You have such an interesting background, and I've written about this over the course of time also. First, what brought you to Las Vegas in the first place? Why did you end up here?
A man.
Okay.
I was dating a guy who wanted to check it out, and he needed to be here for some personal reasons, dealing with his family and
Witness protection
yeah,
program.
no. I mean, I'll be real with you. He was in the middle of a custody battle with his ex, and I was a paralegal because I had 10 jobs when I lived in New York, so I knew all about the law and family court. So I came to help him and to check it out. And we were supposed to be here for about 8 weeks. And that was 25 years ago from 2 days ago. What is today, the 4th? Yeah, I moved here 3 days ago. I moved here February 1st, 1995 to help my boyfriend at the time with a custody battle and to get away from the winter. And I'm still here.
Okay. As it's like 30 tonight in Las Vegas.
Yeah, and I'm like, wait.
But it was life. It was life that brought you here, not a career.
No, I didn't move here
option.
at first for a career because I didn't know, but we had visited once before and I had gone to the lounge. One of the first musicians I ever saw was Keith Nelson on bass.
Oh, yeah.
With Loretta Holloway. I don't know if you know her. She's an amazing
Keith.
singer.
I don't know her.
That was just the diva of Las Vegas at the time. And I went to see them. And I remember watching her, and then through Keith, I met a bunch of other musicians. I got some session work in that little week while I was here. I hadn't even moved here really yet. And I just found that the lifestyle an entertainer can have here is so much easier. There's more opportunity. It's warmer. You can own a house here. You can have a car here. Like I'm a New Yorker. So it was like Disneyland to me. And I liked it. And then I moved here, and at first it took a little adjusting. There's certain things about me that didn't gel necessarily right away. Like I'm really blunt and impatient sometimes, and didn't understand some of the politics that go into working in casinos and working with groups. So this is all new to me. I came from a theater background, and everyone was tell it like it is. And I had to learn a lot about diplomacy and being patient. And I did. And now I feel like I bring kind of the combination of those two parts of my personality together, and it's good.
Yeah, Keith especially.
He's amazing.
Yeah, incredible musician.
Great musician.
David Foster tours with
It's-
David, and
yeah.
he's been setting with everybody.
And that's the other thing is that instead of touring with other artists, because that's what I was doing, I was on tour with different headliners. Instead of doing that, I could sit my butt here and they come to you. And then you get that phone call. Can you be in this section?
And you've done a lot of that kind of work. I know
it's
you've
so
done,
much easier.
You've done a lot of that.
I have, but I don't have to travel.
Yeah, I've talked to a number of entertainers in Las Vegas from all different forms of entertainment. Like I look at someone like Stephanie Sanchez, who did
Love her.
spend some time in New York. Although she's a Las Vegas native, and she found out
Yeah.
really quickly that when she came back to Las Vegas, there are fewer starving artists. Is how she put it.
Yeah.
There are fewer starving artists in Las Vegas than there were in New York. when
Yeah,
she
and
lived
it's
there.
not to knock New York. I mean, I go back
No,
as
it's
often
just-
as I can for that fire and that feeling. I
Exactly.
do think that New York pushed me more in some ways to pursue certain types of goals, whereas here you can get comfortable. I mean, you can just like when I moved here, not so much anymore, but when I moved here, you could be a valet, you could be parking cars and own, four or five bedroom house with a pool, which is unheard of literally in any other city. So that part was cool, but I'm not necessarily financially motivated. For me, it was more of a way to be creative without, like you said, starving. And the combination of being able to make a living, to not starve. And I'm telling you again, that winter.
Yeah. That still is
I can't.
gift,
I still have PTSD about it. I cannot.
You are the rare entertainer in Las Vegas who's Yale educated. I want to ask you about this. You were educated at Yale, and the only other entertainer we have in town is Jen Kramer, who has Yale background that I know
With Yale
of.
background.
Yeah.
But
She's the
Polina
magician.
has Harvard background. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yes.
I have a whole
Yes.
Ivy League.
There's
themed
some of
show
us.
An
Ivy League
for you.
themed show.
You could put
There would
that
be like
together.
5 of us.
It's all right.
But that's okay.
Yeah, Jen can do 20 minutes of magic.
Jen is amazing. I should talk to her about that. And it is weird. The music program at Yale was great. The theater program is great. But most of the entertainers that I knew in school went to New York or LA.
Right.
And I just went kind of a different way.
You studied theater? Is that what you...
I was an English major. Oh, no, my parents weren't having it. I was an English major. I was going to be a lawyer. I was a paralegal. I, was going that path, but it's not what I'm supposed to be doing.
What was the catalyst exactly for you to pursue singing full time with all your other options?
Oh, I have to think about that. The catalyst. I don't think
There had to be a moment when you just said, you know what, I'm just going to sing.
I think when you keep quitting day jobs, or you keep when things keep coming up and presenting themselves for you, no matter what you do, you have to pay attention. I mean, I'm a very much a spiritual person that way, and I don't believe that I kept getting these opportunities because I would quit for a while. And it's hard. It's not an easy business. And I would quit, or I would stop writing or whatever, because I write music too, or stop performing as much and do my day job. And then I would just keep getting the call. And at a certain point, I realized I just enjoyed that more. And I don't want to spend my life punching a clock and being afraid of something that I think is my calling. So I wouldn't say it was a moment. I think it was just, I think my talent and my passion wore me down, even though that may sound funny, from pursuing what everybody else thinks I should be doing.
You were vocally trained. You have to have had vocal
To a degree.
training.
To a degree. I could always use more. But yes.
Because to listen to you sing, it sounds like you've
I've had some training. I've had some training.
Because the way you utilize your voice is
But I'll tell you,
pretty spectacular.
Thank you. I
Yeah, it really
appreciate
is.
that. But I will tell you, my biggest trainer is Vegas. And this is another reason I like living here. Because if you're going to live here, if you're going to make money, you have to be able to turn around and do gospel, classical, pop to a degree. You don't have to be an expert at it. But the more versatile you are, the more you'll do. So it's a lot of it was just situational. Because if someone calls me and says, can you do such and such? I always say yes, hang up the phone and go, what did I just say I could do?
Checkmate yourself. Huh?
I just say yeah. I always say yes, especially if it's work, opportunity, unless it's just something dangerous. But if it's vocal,
Like my birthday's coming up, by the way.
Oh God, you and your birthday.
Here's an ask.
But
if we haven't gotten a hold of you,
but you know
March
what I'm
1st,
saying.
honey, there you go.
Okay, March
We
1st,
have
I'll
it
be there.
on the
It's on the
record.
record. But you don't ask me to do anything cray cray. You just ask me to sing songs.
we're adding Lyra hoops.
But
is that all right?
oh gosh. But yeah, I just so again, I don't think it was a catalyst that made me say this is what I want to do. I've been doing it since I was really little, and I just stopped fighting the calling and started writing again because that's something else I blew off. So it's all.
Right.
I don't know. It's just steps where at a certain point you say, okay, what else have I been ignoring? I mean, haven't you been through this?
I'm probably going through it now, but
There you go.
You never,
I mean, what's
it's
your
hard to gauge.
passion? What's your
No,
thing?
there's no question that my passion is what I do.
Is what you
There's no
do.
doubt about it. I interviewed Phil McKinley, One time,
Yeah.
the producer he did Spider-Man, and he had Showstoppers here in Las Vegas.
Yes.
He directed and
Yes.
assembled
Director.
Showstoppers, and I had coffee with him at the Wynn. And he said his question. He sat down. He goes, "So what's your passion?" He asked me that. I was supposed to be interviewing him. We went on and on about how people have to be in their passion and work in their passion. Yeah. And it was remarkable because I don't know in life if you have a chance to really step back and look at yourself
Especially
that way.
someone like you who spends their time asking other people that question.
Yeah, I don't like being asked questions.
I know.
I don't
Too
like.
bad.
I find it offensive.
Fine. But I don't know if I answered your question, but no
You did.
specific catalyst.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you can gravitate to your passion also. I think it.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
what
I'm
this sounds
passionate
like.
about a lot of things, but this is what I'm supposed to do.
Well, your art is a passion, and then there's a double passion when you talk about the way you convey it.
Yes.
There's an extra
Well,
level of passion.
The switch has been that as you get older too, I think you realize that it's not, to me, it's a transaction between me and the audience. And maybe when I was younger, I would have thought it's all about me singing and them clapping. But now it's like it's all about me creating music and them understanding, perhaps healing or escaping or whatever that service does for them. I'm much more aware of that as I perform, and it's more of why I perform. I think I know everyone's not the same, but a lot of my friends and I have talked about how as we have proceeded in our careers, we're less ego-based and more service-based. And the payoff is literally tenfold when you have that mindset.
I think the artists I really respect here in Las Vegas and elsewhere are those who do a lot of service work. I think of the people, here we go with lists, but like people like Clint Holmes, when I first met him, I met him in a charity environment.
Yeah.
If you look at things like The Power of Love at that level, and Andre Agassi's Grand Slam for Children, all the way down to the Monday's Dark, the people who contribute to that, it's enriching.
It is, but even if you're not doing charity work per se, even if you're just doing your own show and people have paid to see it, you're still giving of your time and your talent and your story. And I watch people the same time they're watching me when I perform. I'm not in a trance.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes I am, but I notice what moves people. You can actually physically feel people being moved a certain way. That's how we pace ourselves as actors too. You can feel the room going, ooh, or oh, move along. You can actually feel it. It's a thing.
Yeah.
And that to me is a service because in the end, you take the sum total of the vibe you're feeling and you say, okay, guys, I'm going to give you this now. And people like it.
You're spirited away. Yeah.
You are. I like that.
That's it. Like live entertainment, great live entertainment is my babbling brook. It's my retreat in many ways.
I know.
Like Jerry
You're
Lopez.
everywhere.
Jerry Lopez calls the Santa Fe shows the healing.
The healing.
And he's right, man. At the end of that show, you feel better than when you walked in.
Yeah, and I can go see that a million times and even see the same set list. And I never leave going, oh, it's too bad I went to see Jerry Lopez. Like, who's going to say that?
How can you not be moved by Roshan Westmoreland's bass solo,
unless
for
you're
example,
dead.
or Tyreek singing Earth, Wind, and Fire? Believe me.
Yes.
I mean, that's a real thing, and it's in that small room. I brought friends. My
love that
family was
room.
in town recently, and I took them to see them, and they were truly blown away.
Yeah.
And they'd seen everything. They were
yeah,
like,
it's
holy,
more
where
than
have these guys
musicality
been?
with those guys. It's like he says, it's a spirit. And he's another one. He doesn't phone it in, and he's fully present when he performs. I think it's so important.
Yeah.
And Vegas gets this weird rap for being plastic or fake or, oh, you're a lounge singer. And then if you just give it a minute and go see these people perform.
Totally.
They're giving it their all. They're fire. They sing circles around every single person I can think of who won a Grammy this year. And I'm proud of it. I'm proud to live here. And this coming show is like the vocal power. I know I said it before, but it's beyond. It's going to be so good.
You've and Myron's Cabaret Jazz and these events is really where people want to be. I remember Earl Turner saying this one time. It's like people are here on purpose to see this show. It's not like they got a comp when they checked in at the hotel or something.
Yeah, because they're coming off the strip and they drove and have to park. So that's true. I never thought about that.
People are there intentionally to see you.
Yeah, they're
do your
not.
thing.
It's not the comped show that they got with
it's
their
not,
room.
Let's get a ticket to this before we go to the other thing we're going to do. It's
John, I have never thought about that.
Yeah, Earl said it. I don't know if he was in the show where I heard him say it. Was a while ago too. It was before when it was just called Cabaret Jazz. It was before the Myron part.
Before Myron's, yes.
Before it was named for Myron Martin, friend Myron Martin. Remember that name?
Myron. It's Myron's Cabaret Jazz.
Let us talk about. I want to ask you about your development before even Yale. Your high school. I'm reading a column I wrote about you a few years ago. It was a quiz about you. Remember that?
Yes,
That was a quiz. True or false? True or false, number 6. Her high school graduation ceremony took place at the pyramids in Egypt. True. This is true about you. Tell us why that's true or how that's true.
Oh, I was in town that day. No.
We had a big benefactor at my high school in New York.
I wanted to travel.
It was a field trip, you see.
No, I grew up in Egypt because my father, remember I told you he's African. He's from West Africa. He's Liberian. And he was the Liberian ambassador to Egypt.
Okay.
So me and my 3 siblings all graduated from the same high school. But I'm the only one who got to graduate in front of the pyramids because that became a thing. I don't even remember what year, but after they had all gone, I'm the baby. And after they had all graduated, the school started doing the graduation ceremony at the Giza pyramids. So that is why I graduated there. They put out a big carpet in front of the Sphinx, and it's just, I know it sounds so crazy, but that's where we graduate.
And
so
we have
you'll
the Luxor, so
you'll see your pictures. You'll see our pictures. American school or international school with American curriculum. So you'll see us throwing our hats, at the end of the thing. I have great pictures.
It looks
of
like
that.
probably people might think it's photoshopped. It's
I know. People ask me all the time.
Yeah.
So how did you get the pictures? I'm like, no, that's it.
You go to Egypt first. That's
Yeah, you go to Egypt. You grow up there. You go to an international school. You travel. That school was so cool. Like how here, let's say you live in Las Vegas and you're on the JV volleyball team. So you play regionally against the different high schools. And then if your high school wins some national competition, you go to some city. We didn't do that. We went to different countries.
Right.
So I did, like track and field was in London, or speech and debate was in Athens.
It's called the international school.
The international school.
Yeah, there's a number
whole
of them.
world of people who grew up this way. We were expats, and we competed against people in different countries. So you end up, by the time you're 18, if you've lived there most of your life like I did, you end up having friends from all over the world. But that is why the answer on the quiz is true.
It was right.
And that's why.
That's one people missed.
Did they miss it? Did people take
Well,
the
I don't
quiz?
know. I wasn't a binding competition.
gonna
It wasn't
say.
like Jeopardy. Yeah,
Okay.
Holzhauer took it and he missed that one. You also knew Steve Kerr. That's another
I
fun
still
fact
know
about.
Steve Kerr, yes.
I mean,
Yes.
in those days you met him.
Yeah.
Period,
We
I
went to
should say.
school together.
Yeah, he was your
Yeah.
classmate, right? Or
Yeah,
schoolmate.
Steve's father, who unfortunately passed away and was killed tragically in Lebanon.
Assassinated.
Yes, his father was a professor. And at the time, I don't remember if they were all living in Egypt or if he was in Lebanon and they were in Egypt. But that is where I met him. I met him when I was in, I believe, maybe 7th grade, and he was in 8th grade or something like that. And we just became good friends. He used to come to our house and sign the book. It was an embassy, so we had this formal book, and he would sign it every time. And I had another friend, Matt Rayleigh, who would sign it every time. And my dad's like, these are not dignitaries from other countries. Please have your friends stop signing the embassy book. But that's a true story.
With their,
And
your friends' names.
Yeah, and he played JV and varsity basketball at my school and was amazing. And we had one of those fairy tale moments where the last basket won the championship. I think he was I remember he was. You have to fact check me on this, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was in 9th grade and the youngest on the team or something like that, but he was the star of the team.
Okay.
He's incredible. So yes, and an amazing person, and I love him dearly. I don't get to see him that often. I usually see him if he's here for the Summer League.
Summer League. Yeah. No,
and
you've
then he's
connected with
off
him there.
again.
Didn't you sing the national anthem at one of the Warrior games a few years ago?
Not a Warrior game. I sang. He invited me to sing at a Suns game. You remember he used to be
that's
president
right.
of the Suns. So
right.
back
That's what I'm
then, we had run into each other at the Summer League, and then he says, "You got to come sing for the Suns," and I did. No Warrior games, but almost always Summer League, and that's usually when I see him. You know where I did see him, which was so cool. You are actually right. It was Lakers Warriors preseason at T-Mobile. I totally forgot about
the
this.
exhibition games here.
I totally forgot, and Steve was there.
That's right.
I do remember now.
'Ause I think you took a shot of.
I
you
did
and him
because
and
I
sent it to me.
surprised him because I went up to him and did a little, and he's like, "Oh, what are you doing here again? The national anthem." So that's literally how we run into each other. But he's great. He's so great.
You've done a lot of work in building choirs too, assembling choirs for superstars and that kind of world. And you've sung with some people who are world famous.
I have.
What are some of the highlights of that?
For my choir,
yeah. It's called. What is it called again?
It's called the Desert Angels.
Desert Angels,
and it's all stars. So it's a lot of the people we talked about today are in the choir.
It's the best of the best in Las Vegas.
It is. It's all these singers who freelance, but then these jobs are, most of our work is corporate work, so they're available to do it in the day. But once in a while, we'll get a headliner that needs a choir for a big number. I would say the highlight would be Barbra Streisand.
Right.
Just because of the way it happened. First of all, that I just got this call and thought I was being punked and hung up twice on the person before I realized they were really calling about it. But that was a highlight because she doesn't perform live that much.
No.
So for her to then have, or whoever reached out to me that works for her, for them to ask us was awesome. And it was... It literally felt like it wasn't happening, like surreal.
Wow. She's that great, huh?
It's not, well, some people don't like Barbra Streisand. I love her. I would say that's part of how I trained my voice as best as I could. But you read about artists like that being difficult or the B word or whatever. I don't know if we're allowed to say that on this. I don't know. I don't know the ratings of the Cats podcast, but
female dog word.
Yeah, but she but I have found that especially with women, the more I hear about how difficult they are, if and when I meet them, all it is that they're exacting. It doesn't mean that they don't have their moments, but by and large, it just means that they know exactly what they want and they are not afraid to be blunt about how they ask for it. And so I didn't get a chance to sit in the coffee lounge with Miss Streisand, but the whole thing about the no eye contact was nonsense. You could make eye contact, and when we did the number, it was at the MGM Grand. It was for her. What was it called? Back to Brooklyn, I think.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Back to the Brooklyn tour. She did this thing. Bill Fain conducted the choir, so that was a great thing for him.
Clint's best friend and music director,
and one of my besties,
great singer,
a good
too.
friend of mine, good friend of mine. But he was conducting, and then she turned around. Sorry about that. She turned around, and I don't know if she does this at every show. I think she does. She turned around, and they tell her who conducts the choir. So she turns around in the middle of the whole song, and she looked at me, and she bowed at me.
Nice.
And I wanted to plot. And yes, I'm Jewish, not really, but I am.
There you are.
I mean? There I am. There she comes,
At
right?
that point.
There I am. I'm from Brooklyn, and I say plots. I'm a Jufrican. That's what I say. I'm a Jufrican. But that moment was my highlight for me and for my choir because it was just a nice thing for her to do, and my choir got to sing with her, and no one can take that away from us.
That was like a 40-woman.
It wasn't. It wasn't just women.
It was 40 people.
It was 40 singers. 40 singers. And I wish I had made it bigger. Actually, I wish it had been more like 200 because when I got there, I realized that would be better for the space.
Would you have had that option?
Yeah, I mean, it's not as easy to do, but we've done up to 150. And sometimes you have to supplement it with people who aren't necessarily professional singers, but you have to make sure they can sing.
Yeah.
So we'll hire another
There's that.
choir or a church choir to come in on top of. But I always have to have at least 20 people who do this day in and day out.
If you get up to 200, that's like a night with Kenny Davidson.
There you go.
That's
now,
about what
Kenny,
he has.
At the time, Kenny wasn't around
No, that was
doing
before he lived
Tuscany.
here.
If he was, I would have just said, everyone who did that last night, please come. Because they're all great. He doesn't have any bad singers either on his shows. But that was a highlight. And then also we do a lot of things where we do a lot of corporate work where we change the energy of the meeting. I mean, the meetings, for one, I don't want to say boring because I don't want to insult my clients, but it's dry, these business meetings, so that my choir comes in there and wakes them up if it's a morning thing.
Often
or
it is a
gets
morning
them
thing, isn't it?
inspired if it's the end. Sometimes we're the closer. And I like it. I like everything I do.
I often ask
really
my friends in the entertainment field to give me a bad corporate.
A bad
Do you have a bad corporate?
Do I have a bad
Yeah.
corporate? I have funny corporates.
Funny corporate?
Like one time I had to leave some of my people in charge because I had an emergency in LA, and I didn't know what the theme was, or I didn't know what the product was. And it turns out, I don't even remember the client, but it was female sanitary napkins and tampons and stuff like this. And I guess some revolutionary product. And they literally, the set was giant tampons.
This is the performance set?
This is the set for us to sing on. And because I had my choir people texting me, we are literally sitting on giant tampons. And I'm like, you guys, I don't need this right now. Come on. They're like, no, really?
No.
So that was weird. And like they had a cirque thing with the things flying. I know this is gross, but that's what they did. So that was odd.
So what do you sing in that?
I don't even remember what we sang, but it was just an odd set. And nobody warned us that not that I'm, there's nothing wrong with tampons in life, but to have it as a set piece is just weird.
It sounds like a rejected show concept for View
Yeah,
Theater.
it sounds like the B list of, it was just a weird idea. And the audience thought it was weird too. It was a long time ago. I blocked it all. Thanks for bringing it back. And then I don't know.
Apologies.
I don't have any bad corporates. I just have challenging ones where, we have to run really fast and we're in robes, or sometimes the audio is a challenge, and that's why I always make sure my singers with superpower behind their voices are on mic, because you can't put everyone on mic, even though everyone in the choir could sing lead.
Yeah.
So,
I hear that one mostly. There's the audio.
Yeah,
in
so I'll
this
put
environment.
Timara on the mic so that if the mic goes out, no one actually notices, because that's how powerful her voice is, as an example.
Yeah.
And also because she's really good. But I don't know. It's I've learned to surf the corporate wave and work with them, and the things that the choir doesn't experience are more interesting to me, like the phone calls about nothing that you have to be on, for example, because there's so many committees.
Yeah.
There's so many people. There's so many chiefs picking the content.
Right.
And sometimes it'll be, a 3-hour meeting about whether the choir should come from the wings or the house. And you just have to put in your headphones and just type and, but that's part of why I get paid.
But they can be very lucrative.
They're
also, can't they?
lucrative, and the people that take my time or hire me, I should say, for my time, are paying me to bring their vision to life. So if they want to talk about something like that for a long time, I just say, okay, because it's them it's their butt in the seats, or their butt on the line, because they're working for yet another production company that's working for another production company. So
Yeah.
that big
They're-
wig at Blankety Blank Inc. is happy.
Yep.
And
They all
my
have to
job is
justify their
to cut
positions
through it.
in that.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with it. It's
ecosystem.
It's just left brain. That's
Yeah.
all. So if you're a creative person, you have to go, we just talked about this for 3 hours. But if they're on the line, they're not necessarily creative. So
That's
my job is to bring their brain on over to this side and paint a picture of how it's going to be.
Yeah.
Because you can't just say to a corporate client, just trust me, I'm good. You have to prove it. And part of that is on a conference call. You have to prove it.
Right. That's interesting. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking
I've not
about?
had the entertainers explain it that way before. Usually it's when you're up front and on stage, and those are the challenges you meet when you walk in. But the preparation for those
It's
types
the
of
prep.
gigs, it's a
the
lot
prep.
more. It's a lot different than
That's
doing
why
a showroom
that's-
or lounge
Oh,
gig.
yeah.
Or,
and also it's
Myron's Cabaret Jazz gig.
Yeah, it's completely different. It's the prep, and it's also respecting that if you're a creative and a musician, a singer, or whatever, you may not care about X blah 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 pharmaceuticals, but you better bring it that morning because
care
they're
then.
paying you to take people's minds off of the 8 meetings they had and just get uplifted
and help you sustain your art on the other side.
Yeah, I like it all. I really do.
I'm pro corporate. I used to not be. I used to think it was kind of silly, but now
Did you?
I'm pro. I did, but I'm pro because it's hard enough for entertainers to find work in Las Vegas in today's fickle entertainment market.
Yeah,
If you can, if you can make bank on the show you described with the weird set, more power to you. You know,
and if I can put money on other people's kitchen tables, you know what I'm saying? If I can pay other entertainers, because these are usually at least 20 singers, sometimes with a live band, sometimes not. So I feel like I wouldn't bash it and say I'm selling out. I'm
That's
just
the
making
thing.
a living.
Yeah.
And like I said at the beginning of our conversation, when you asked me about the storytelling, it's really no different. They're telling a story too. The videos today are more, they're less super polished and more authentic. The whole way that corporate stuff is
Exactly.
produced, even the Grammys.
Well, when I see
this year
Celine
were like
Dion
that.
doing a corporate lounge gig at Mandalay Bay, which she did
I remember.
last year, and then that same week for the same company,
Yeah, then
Lady
she did
Gaga
her-
shows up at Mandalay Bay Event Center. It's Amway. I'm like, whoa, wait, well,
That's a great point.
and they have that entire apparatus around them, and they
Yeah.
employ people themselves. And keep
MLMs
artists in-
more than anything want they want something powerful and authentic because these are people who are in sales and they have to be pumped up in a different way because they have to have their own downline, and MLMs is a whole nother topic.
If you
but
think about who comes to Las Vegas, it's their workforce. It's the people who work for
Right.
that company. So you're
Right.
probably planting seeds for people to want to, enjoy entertainment in Las Vegas in
yeah,
a whole different
true.
way when they return.
Or
you
they're
know?
being rewarded. That's the other thing. We do a lot of incentive meetings where it's the top salespeople. I used to work for Washington Mutual before Washington Mutual went away with the whole mortgage crisis.
Yeah,
but
that's
I
right.
did. I worked for them for years and traveled all over the country doing their events. And I remember some of them would be in Hawaii or Puerto Rico, somewhere exotic, because people were being rewarded. So sometimes the entertainment is the cherry on top for the whole 3 days of thank you for being the best salesperson or the best whatever customer service rep. So sometimes it's not just a rah believe in our company. Sometimes it's an actual reward meeting or reward week, which means people have been getting massages all week and being treated with the VIP treatment, and then at the end of the night, they get a great party with a great band, or they get a meeting at the end with a powerful message that is brought to them by music. And
Well, the
that's
more
what I do.
Las Vegas grows, continues to grow as a convention destination, I think people need to realize how important entertainment is in that context to satisfy
Yes.
those needs. I mean, I don't think people make that connection readily. But it
What
is
do
a
you
big
mean
part.
that you think they don't?
I think that as we grow, more conventions come here. They're going to be needing. You're going to be getting more corporate work.
Yeah.
When we open the
Yeah.
convention center expansion, for example.
Yeah, I think so.
When we have
I think
more,
so.
I
mean,
would
there
think so,
there was
yeah.
a dip for a while because actually after 9/11, for example, a lot of things slowed down, even in the convention world. And then when that crisis happened with the mortgages, I don't know if you remember the whole thing where I think it was President Obama said something about
Don't
Vegas
go shredding
and,
your
and that created
stimulus
this whole,
money in Las
yeah,
Vegas
That was just
to that effect.
for someone like me. That was an unfortunate moment because all of a sudden people started canceling meetings for optics reasons. I mean,
That's it.
I had a producer say to
Yep.
me, "It's cheaper for me to do the show here, but I have to go to Orlando because." it's going to look better right now.
Yeah, because people now who were on the radar is like, oh, they're just being frivolous with their stimulus. It was about the stimulus money.
We are definitely vulnerable to the perceptions that change about Vegas. I lived here when they were trying to do the whole family-friendly thing, and it didn't work. And meetings changed then too.
Yeah.
It was the meetings were trying to be family-friendly, and I don't know. It just and it didn't work. And there's so much in this city that is family friendly, but what they were trying to do didn't make sense.
Well, I think the marketing emphasis is what changed more than the actual amenities. There was the MGM Grand Theme Park went away. That was a big one. But we still have a lot of stuff. There's still a lot going on for kids in Las Vegas that we don't necessarily market with. What happens here only happens here. They don't show the water park, and they don't show in that but there's a lot. There's a lot that's going on that's not part of our marketing campaign. And when people get here, they tend to be like, oh, wow, there's a lot of stuff for
I think that's a choice that was made for whatever the reason. I mean, I'm not a researcher, but I do know that to try to bend this city to say it's a family town didn't work. It just didn't work.
Well, it wasn't. It didn't quite ring true. It didn't feel like that.
It wasn't
right.
authentic. It's all about that now. It's like, let's just be who we are. Let's say what we're going to say and be genuine, whether it's in a show, a business meeting, whatever you're doing.
Well, let's. I have one more thing I want to touch on before we close it up here. And that was how I'm a huge Beatles fan, as I think you know.
Okay.
And you were on stage with Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr some years ago singing Hey Jude at Hollywood Bowl.
Correct.
Wow.
That is all true.
That's part of the quiz too. How did that happen? When was it? What was the environment? Because it's amazing
when you tell the story, it sounds like I just walked up there with Paul and Ringo.
I think you did.
That's not exactly.
You rushed the stage.
I did not rush the stage, but more importantly, it wasn't just me. It's super, you know how I am. I'm always trying to be honest about this stuff so that it doesn't get exaggerated.
I know how
it was a lot of entertainers. We were all part of Earth Day. And so there were different acts. We had Kenny Loggins, Katie Lang. It was in the 90s. 10,000 Maniacs, Don Henley.
I want to say it was 93. Does that sound right?
I think it was 93. Okay. Steve Miller. There were all these different bands. I was with a band called PM Dawn. Okay. And we were the babies of the group. So we went first when the show first started. And, like early in the afternoon. It was one of those all-day things they used to do. Yep. Do they still do these? I mean,
I here they do.
I don't know. I'm performing. I don't go to anything anymore.
ED's, Dr. Daisy Carnival.
What's that other one?
Life is Beautiful.
That stuff. Okay. Anyway, so what happened was being short when you're in a big massive crowd, it's easy to get sort of pushed and smushed. And so when Paul invited all of us, Paul McCartney was the anchor act and it was his thing. And when he invited us all to come back on stage, I got pushed to the front with PM Dawn. So that's how I ended up standing next to him. And then Ringo, I don't even know where he came from, but he came like on my left. And Paul was singing the Hey Jude thing. And I had talked to him for about 15 minutes at sound check. So I was still trying to recover from that conversation because he actually called me over and he said, "Hello, love. How are you? Da, da, da." And I'm just trying to be normal. But inside I'm like, it's Paul McCartney. And he wanted to talk to me about our music because Paul's kind of like Tony Bennett where he wants to know what's up now, like what's current. And he's not one of those, well, back in my day, like he's always got his ears open for what's on. And we were the thing then. We were, current group. So he was talking to me about that. And he said that when the last time he had played the Hollywood Bowl, I wasn't born yet. So I got all defensive and said, yes, I was. And we got into this thing and he proved to me I wasn't. And it was just funny and cool.
65.
And then he said, it was 60. It was 60. Was it 65?
The Beatles played there in 1965. I don't know if that was his last appearance.
No. It was something about 1963 because I wasn't born yet. So whatever he was talking about. Okay. Because we had a whole discussion about it. Okay. And I said, oh, you're right. And so long story, way too long, make it shorter, is that at the end of the show, he called us all back. I ended up at the front. And for some reason, he just took my hand. And when we got to the na-na-nas, and Ringo was over here talking about how he didn't want to sing because he had just had dental surgery and wasn't feeling well. And I'm hearing them talking about that in front of all those thousands of people.
Paul and Ringo talking about his...
Yeah, Ringo's like, I can't sing. I had surgery. And Paul's singing, and he takes my hand and the other background singer's hand, and he's like, okay. And this is all happening live at the Hollywood Bowl. And then he took my hand, and then we started doing the na-na-nas. And then he left the mic and went away, and there was an open mic, and I just started ad-libbing, and then it turned into a thing. And that's how I ended up singing the wailing ad-libs to Hey Jude with Paul.
That's amazing. Wow. Center of the universe stuff. You're my hero. All right. Well, let's remind people where they can see you next.
Okay.
At 3 p.m. February 23rd.
23rd. It's a Sunday afternoon.
Sunday afternoon, Myron's Cabaret Jazz. Sankofa. A celebration.
Sankofa. Yes. And I really want to stress that it's going to be all kinds of genres. So if you're a blues fan, a gospel fan, spirituals, we're going to do some music from Porgy and Bess, ragtime, Stevie Wonder, Earth, Wind and Fire, the blues, Bessie Smith. We're going to cover it all as best we can. So it's something for everybody, and it's going to be fierce.
And you're going to be singing?
And I am singing.
You're going to be singing?
That's true. I talked about everybody else.
You
I'll
are going to be singing
too.
also. You're not just assembling this thing.
It's a show that I produce, but you know me. I like to
I
give
get
everybody
it. No,
their
you do
due.
the whole deal. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I will be there, and I think
Ooh.
people should check you out because this is a rare talent that you will see only in Las Vegas.
Thanks.
What happens in Vegas happens only
in Vegas. They
There
can
we
go to the
That's you.
Smith Center website, or they can go to michellejohnson.com for more information.
Right on, and I'll be writing about this in advance too. And,
Sounds good.
We can't wait to see you, Michelle. It's
you.
always a pleasure. Thanks for being
Love
here.
you.
I'm on the prowl. Ain't got time to monkey around. Oh yeah, it's a jungle out there, baby. But I'm the biggest cat in town.